So yesterday we started chapter 4. Okay, we did section 4.1. 4.1 is on just setting up our problem, figuring out what gets the single variable, and then how do we represent the other one in terms of that variable. Okay, 4.2, what we're going to do is we're actually going to solve. Okay, so we're not just going to say that Pat's age is twice John's age. We're going to find out how old is Pat, how old is John. Okay, so they're going to give you one extra piece of information. So first thing you want to know, okay, what is the goal? Okay, so the goal is to set up an equation with the information that they give you. Setting up an equation is the new part. Okay, you didn't have to set up an equation yesterday. Okay, so that's the first part that we're going to do. Okay, so Mr. Roy is going to pass out that sheet to you so you can put it right on there. Okay, in general, most problems are going to have two unknowns. Okay, just like they did yesterday. Occasionally, you'll come across one problem with three unknowns. Okay, but most of the time it will be two. Okay, so on that sheet that Mr. Roy is passing out where it says 4.2, fill in the name of the section. Under goal, write down the goal.
Hey guys, for whatever reason, if you're out of class or something, you need the notes, I leave them all right over here during the week. If you're out of something like that, you need something, come over and grab one.
All right, so what's nice about today is you're going to start the way you did yesterday. Okay, so you can start off with something you're already comfortable with, something you've practiced, and then we're going to extend that. Okay, so he writes right below it, first two steps are the same as yesterday. Okay, you already have those in your notes. So you can look back at your other sheet if you need them. Okay, step one. First, you're going to identify what are the unknowns. Generally, there'll be at least two. There could be three. Okay? So we did some examples yesterday, like smaller number, larger number. Those are the two unknowns. This year's price, last year's price. John's age, Pat's age.
Bob's fish, somebody else's fish.
Okay, so that's the very first thing you got to do.
Mr. Hager's ties, Mr. Roy's ties.
You don't have to ask.
Question?
Why
Can you go up a little bit? Sorry, I didn't get it.
So 4.2, it's problem solving with two or more variables, two or more numbers.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
I didn't get the 4.2. Wait a second. Was it two or more variables?
Two or more numbers. Okay, in general, we can be a little bit more specific. It's either going to be two or three. It'll never be less than two. It'll never be more than three. Okay, does everybody have the goal? You got the goal? Okay.
Someone said no.
No? So step one, we've identified our unknowns. What are they asking us to find? Step two. Okay. Next, you got to figure out which one of the unknowns gets the single letter, and what's the trick for remembering which one gets the single letter. Whatever's at the end. Good job. You read the sentence, whatever's at the end of the sentence. Okay, once you've represented one of your unknowns using the single variable, then you have to represent the other unknown. How do you do it? Well, you read based on the information that's given. Okay, so based on the information that's given. Now, let's say you use X as your letter in step 2A. What are you going to use for your letter in 2B?
Just like yesterday, guys, what are you going to you use? Good, Seth. You know, or are you faking us out?
Kind of both.
Okay, there's a little bit of both.
Equation.
Well,
So say Mr. Hager, for the example that he does, right, uses x as the unknown, right? When you're setting up for your second unknown, what are you going to make sure you're going to do? Use the same letter, right? You said it yesterday, notes, make sure you use the same letter. And again, guys, we're doing that stuff. I know on the homework last night, some people struggled, where if it go back to yesterday's notes, right? Less than, greater than, all those little key words, we put them in that little table on your notes yesterday. And put that, get in the habit of putting that stuff second. No, -5, +3. Then you can fill in the unknown stuff at the beginning, all right?
all right, so now, at this point, everything we've done is what you've done up to yesterday. Now we're going to look at the next steps, which are new. Okay, now we're actually going to be finding out how many fish does Kate have, how many fish does Bob have. We're going to actually get an answer. Okay, so the new step, step 3, set up an equation. Okay, that's the key. We're going to set up equation using what we just did in step 2A and 2B. And to figure out what kind of equation do we set up, a lot of times it'll have either add, subtract, multiply, or divide. You're going to look for the keywords. If it says the total of two things, think about how you would total something. You'd add it. Okay, if it says the difference, right? If it says that's subtraction. Right, so we'll look at the keywords as we go, but most of them are going to be already on that list you had yesterday. In fact, I think all of them.
But the only thing is now, guys, you gotta take those two pieces, that unknown 1 and that unknown 2, and maybe unknown 3, and you're gonna have to separate it with something. Right? What do you think that something is gonna be? That's something you separate them with. You have unknown 1, unknown 2, 3, x and 3x minus 2. What's gonna separate those two things, you guys think? Huh? You're gonna have unknown 1 and unknown 2. So your unknown 1 might be x, right? And your unknown 2 might be 3x minus 2. What's going to separate? No, not equals. Because in this one, it's going to give you a number. All right? It'll give you a number. It could be parentheses. It could be what else? Could be multiplication. Could be what else? Division. Could be what else? Subtraction. Or it could be, there's going to be some kind of a sign, some kind of math operation that's going to separate these two things. So all you're doing is taking those two values and plugging in what it tells you in the problem. Is it difference? If it's difference, I'm going to use what?
Minus.
Huh?
Minus.
Minus. If it's the total, what would I do? It's asking for the total. Add them together, right? So understand, look for those key terms. That's going to tell you how you're going to separate those two things, what operation you're going to use.
Okay, now after you do step 3, you're going to know one of your unknowns. Okay, you're going to have x equals, and you're going to have an answer after step 3. So in step 4, you're going to take that answer that you just got in step 3, and you're going to use the work you did in step 2 when you represented your unknowns, and you're going to plug in your answer. Okay, you're going to plug in your answer from step 3, and that's going to help you to find your unknowns. This will be a lot clearer when we do an example.
I'll go through the template too.
Okay, so what we'll do first is we're going to show you the template, and as we go through it the first time, we'll just explain, how you can use it, what you need to put where.
And guys, I think on the first, any example we do, you guys should be able to do that step 1 and step 2A and 2B, because it's the same as yesterday. All right, step 3 where you're setting up the equation and solving, and step 4 where you have to label your answers, like Bob has 3 fish, Kate has 5 fish. That'll be a little bit. That's going to be new. But the first 3 things are the same. Right, same as yesterday.
Okay, so notice here, Mr. Roy writes answer or answers. It's going to depend on if you have two things you need to find or three. Okay, I think every problem except one or maybe two, I'm going to just stick with two unknowns. But there is one with three. Does everybody have step 4? Okay. Okay, and everybody has the template?
It's on the back side of that page.
Backside?
Guys, this isn't
Okay.
hard.
So, our first example, okay, it says the price of a book is $3 less than twice the price of a tape. Okay, that first sentence is all we're going to need to do steps 1 and 2. Okay, so why don't we do steps 1 and 2, and then we'll finish reading the problem. Okay, we don't even need the other information yet. Okay, so this first part is what we did yesterday. So reading the first sentence, price of a book is $3 less than twice the price of a tape. What's step 1? What do we do?
You
Yep.
have to find the two unknowns,
Right, we got to label the two unknowns.
which are book and tape.
Yeah, book, tape. So we're finding the price of the book, price of the tape.
Now, Mr. Nermi, which one of those will get the single variable, the book or the tape? You sure?
Think of a trick to remember which one it is.
The tape, why the tape, Joe?
It's the end of
The last, I know there's information after that, but again, it's the last thing, it's the last thing when it gives you the information, right? So, right, Mr. Hager's gonna use T for tape. Now, this is where, I know last night, some people got into trouble. Okay? So now, we got the tape, we got T, we're fine. Now at this part, the price of a book is $3 less than. So immediately when I see less than, what do, Tyler?
Make it -3.
Minus 3. I'm going to leave some space here because there's going to need to be more information that goes here. So I'm just going to put my minus 3 because that stands for less than, all right, less than, 3 less than, right? So this is gone, this less than piece. I did it, I used it. Then what does it say? I don't want to know how to set it up. I want to know what it says next, Marcus.
Twice the price of a tape.
How would you represent that, Marcus?
2T.
2T. Right now, all we have for the price of a tape is T. That's all we know. That's it. So twice means 2. Twice the tape. All we know for the value of the tape right now is T. So again, even if it's $5 more or $3 more than, put a plus. Put that as the second part. That way you can fill in the rest of the information right there. All right? Same thing we did yesterday. Book, tape. Okay? Because, I mean, last night, guys, when I looked at the homework, I mean, you guys are great getting the unknown, putting a single letter. You guys are spot on with that. But we had to put it, we had to do that second unknown. We had to like, plug in some stuff. We had a little bit more difficult at the time.
All right, so that's what you did yesterday. Okay, now that's the end of what we knew how to do yesterday. Now we're going to start the new part. Okay, for that we need to continue reading the problem. It says we spent $63 on the book and the tape. It's like a total of $63 on both. So we've got to set up an equation involving the price of the book, which is 2t minus 3, the price of a tape, and the 63.
And you have, so you guys, it should be, it says thing 1 and thing 2, unknown 1 and unknown 2. Means the same thing in that next box. So that next box, with the arrow pointing down, that's where you're going to set up your equation and solve. All right? So in this equation, we know Mr. Hager can bring down right now. He can bring down that box, unknown 1 and unknown 2, or thing 1 and thing 2.
Okay, so what are we going to do? Okay, there's the price of my, what is that, the book? And then we have the price of the tape, which is just T. And what did we spend on them together? Well,
63.
we spent 63. Now, how would you find the total? If you spent money on a book and a tape, what would you do with the two prices? You would add it.
And it's
That's the key.
And then what would it equal? 63. That's what it says right there. When it says the number given, that's where you want to put. That's the number it gives you, 63. And again, guys, if you want to label, if you want to write a bubble like Mr. Hager's doing, book and tape, that's fine too. You don't have to, but that's fine. You can do that too.
Everyone see the equation we set up? The price of the book
Can you go back up, Mr. Hager?
plus the price of the tape equals $63.
Again, that's the, Patty, make a good point. That's the number it gives you. We spent $63. All right, that number, that nice whole number that it gives you with no twice, no less than, none of that stuff, right? That's the number that's going to equal.
All right. Now, from here, this is where our equation solving comes in. We're done with the word problem part of this. Now we have to do the algebra. Okay. What would I do on the left-hand side here? I would combine like terms. What are my like terms?
1x and 2x.
Oh, yep, whatever with has the variable, 2t and t. How many t's on the left-hand side when we combine them? 3 t, yep, minus 3 equals 63. Okay, 2 steps left. This should be old news for us now.
Elijah, what's he going to do now? What's Mr. Hager going to do now? He did that. Now, which one of those things there is not like the other two?
3t.
The 3t's. So we want to leave that alone, right? But the thing that's with it, we want to get rid of, right?
Yeah.
So what should Mr. Hager do?
Should he add 3?
Add 3. What else should he add?
Just 262.
Perfect. What's he going to have left?
66.
Right.
We'll put the answer down here. So we get 3t equals 66.
22.
How'd you get that?
I divided 66 by 3.
Yep. And where else did you divide by 3?
On the other side.
On the other side, the 3, yep. So we get 22. And I labeled it as dollars. So what we're going to do, where you have the spot for variable, fill in the letter, and put what it's equal to. Okay, any questions how we got that? That's the price of the tape. So we're going to go back up. And now here, we're going to plug in, we're just going to copy down t equals 22. There's nothing to plug in because we already know the price of the tape. But the next one is the book. We have 2. What's t though? We just figured it out.
So you subtract 22 from 63.
So t, 2 times 22. We're just filling in 22 for t, minus 3. And now what is 2 times 22?
66.
44.
44, take away 3. 41. Okay. So now we've done all the work. Let's just make sure we label what our final answer is. How much was the price of the tape?
22.
Yep. Tape was 22.
Book was 41.
How much was the price of the book?
41.
41.
How'd you get that second half?
How'd we get this one?
You just take
So we know the price of the tape is 22, right? We took this price and we filled it in for t. So we did 2, you got it? 2 times, okay. Okay, and that's it. That's the idea of what we're doing today. So we'll try some more of those. Any questions on how we got the price of the book or the tape?
Couldn't you just take 22 and subtract it by 63 and get?
You could, yeah. If you know the total you spent and you spent it on 2 things, then you subtract one of them, you get the other one,
I
yep.
think that's the biggest thing is that last part that Mr. Hager's circle. All right, make sure you label what the tape is, what the book is. All right, that's the big piece. We want to know. Just don't put 22 and 41. We want to know what was $22. We want to know what was the $41.
Oh, we're gonna try a couple more. Okay, so here's example 2. Okay, for now I'm just gonna read
What kind of board?
the first sentence.
I don't know. What kind of what do you want? Skateboard. All right, guys. So we got a board, like Isaiah said, a skateboard, 81 centimeters long, cut into two pieces. All right, first piece is 7 centimeters less than 3 times the second piece. All right, find the length of each piece. Let's go down, let's go to our thing, template. We don't need to go any further than this right now, right? First thing we want to do, Justin, what's the first thing we want to do?
Find the two unknowns,
What are they going to be?
81, and then
Remember, all we're doing right now, Justin, is just labeling. That's it. What are the two things we're given in this problem?
the length of it.
The length, all right. But how are they written in the problem?
81 centimeters.
We could call it the first piece, second piece. All right. Or it could be board 1, board 2. Whatever you want to do it is fine. All right. So we get first piece, second piece. Now, Victoria, which one will be the single variable? Don't worry about this. Don't worry about this final length. We're going to do that anyways. Second piece, how come? End of the sentence, right? Don't worry, this is just some extra mumbo jumbo. It's just telling you what to do. Here's the meat. This is the meat right here. These first couple sentences. That gives you the info that you know, that you need to know. That's all you need. All right? So, second piece, like Victoria just said, that's going to be my X. Now we get to the tough part. Now we get to the challenging part, right, Ben? Ben's like, oh, Mr. Roy, man. All right, so 7 centimeters. So we got second piece. We know we did that. Goodbye. Goodbye. We did that. We get that filled in. Now we're going to talk about that first piece, right, Ben? Hold on. One second. All right, now we're going to talk about that first piece. What do we know about that first piece?
3 times. 3 times more.
3 times less. All right, what does less mean? So we're definitely, this first part is definitely going to have some subtraction. All right? What are we, Austin, what are we subtracting by what number?
7.
Subtracted by 7. Make sure, put that as the second part. Whether it's addition, subtraction, put it as the second part. We'll fill in the other information after. -7, like Austin just told us. So we did this part. 7 centimeters less than. We did that. Now we got 3 times the second. Tyler, how do I represent that? 3 times the second. We're definitely going to use the number 3, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
3x.
3 times, not just like 3x, it is 3x. 3 times the second. Right, that's the hardest thing. It's like, sometimes it's so like, oh my God, like so common sense, like, there's got to be more to it than that. No, it's not. It's just 3 times the second. The second right now is x. That's all. That's it. Let's go down. Now we're going to set it up. Now we're not going to set it up piece. Let's go, we'll work backwards. The whole board is how much? How big is the whole board? The whole big long board that we cut?
81.
81, right? So how am I going to show that when I set it up?
Right.
It's on the other side.
Centimeters.
Huh? I don't care about centimeters. Don't worry about that. Yeah, we're on the right side.
It's on the other side of this, and, equal sign.
On the other side of the equal sign, right, Katie? So I'm going to write equals what? 81. What am I going to do now? Save on.
Put down the first unknown.
Bring my unknowns down, right, and just write them in. 3x minus 7 and x. Now, what's going to separate? Here's kind of like my menu right here. Add, subtract, multiply, divide. What's going to subtract, what's going to separate those two things? What sign? Huh?
Addition.
Addition. Correct. Let's go back up real quick. All right? The whole thing. If you have 2 pieces of wood, right, you're going to add the lengths together. You're not taking a piece of wood away, all right? You're not sanding it down at all right? You just want to know how much each one measures. So we got to figure out Again, we gotta figure out what each piece is, all right? So we go back down. First step when I get here, gonna be what, Ben?
To add
Add, what am I gonna add?
the 3x minus 7 plus.
Okay, but remember, what are we gonna do? We're gonna add, but we're just gonna be careful about what we're adding. Marcus,
Add like terms.
what are the like terms, Marcus?
X and 3x.
X and 3x. Ben, chance for a rebuttal. What do I get when I do that?
4.
Perfect. 4x. Gone, gonzo. What's left? This x was that. Minus 7 or negative 7 equals 81. Right? Jolt and Joe. What am I going to do now?
81 divided by negative 7.
Not yet. Which, out of these three things, which thing is different? The 4x. Leave him. Don't move him. He's going to stay.
Plus 7.
Plus 7. Nice job, Joe. Plus 7, plus 7. 4x equals 81 plus 7, guys? 88. Last step. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. Isaiah, I think you said it in the back. X equals 22. I can go down a little bit more. My letter was X. That equals 22. Now I go back up. Like Mr. Hager said before, my word problem is done now. I did it. Now it gets to the tricky part. Now it gets to make sure that you're labeling correctly. All right? Like Mr. Hager said for the last one. X, that one's already done. What's X?
22.
22. Now, we already did this label. Check. We did that one. Second piece, all right, X is 22. Now we're going to take this one and plug in X for it. Go ahead, Kayla.
3 times 22 minus 7.
Okay, but if I'm going to plug it in for this, oh yeah, you're right, never mind. 3 times 22 minus 7.
Equals 59.
Yeah, because we got 66 minus 7, 59. Right. Yeah. Because all I did here was, guys, this was my X, right? 3X. Right? I took X and all I did was plug in 22 for it. That's all I did. In this box, I just rewrote it, all right, and put in 22 as X. That gave me the 59. Let's go back to my labels again. Right? It says right here, label from step 1. First piece, second piece. First piece and second piece. What's the first piece measure? Kayla.
22.
But
Oh, no, first piece is 21.
first piece is going to be what?
59.
59. Second piece will be 22. Again, I know some of you guys do it differently. You put the unknown on the top, and you put the thing we have to figure it out based on the info.
I just switched them that way because I did the 22 lined up with the 22.
Yeah, if you want to keep it consistent all the way across, if you wanted this 3 times 22 minus 7 and X equals 22 on the bottom, you want to do the same thing all the way across, that's perfectly fine. If you have your unknown as the top one in this box, that's perfectly fine too. It's all about your preference, all about how you want to do it. Making a little bit more sense now? A little bit more? All right, let's try another one. This one. All right, the larger of two numbers is 3 times the smaller. The sum of the numbers is 28. Find the numbers. You guys, on your own, right now, do this box. Actually, you know what I want you to do? I want you to do this box. Hold on, kiddo. I want you to do this box. All I want you to do is do this box and do that box. All I want you to do is get your unknowns, get them set up, and get your equation set up. If you feel comfortable enough to solve, do that. If you want to stop, that's fine too. But just give it a try. Okay?
All right, so who thinks they know one of the unknowns? Just tell me, one of the two things we got to find. Savon?
One of them is the larger number,
Yep,
and the other one's the smaller number.
good. The two things you want to find here are larger and smaller. Okay, which one gets the single variable? Larger or smaller? Try to remember the trick you can use. Look at the location in the sentence. Joe? Smaller, how do you know?
Because the smaller is at the end.
Good. Smaller is at the end. It gets the single variable. Okay. Now we got to figure out larger. Okay, the larger is 3 times the smaller. Okay, so how would you write larger? If the smaller is x and the larger is 3 times that, you'd write 3x. Great. Okay, now you got your expression set up. Now let's read the next sentence. The sum. That's the key word right there. The sum.
I'm sorry to stop you, but it's where people are making mistakes. Oh, 3 times, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I got it.
two.
Okay, but some of you guys are putting like 2x, like plus 3. You don't need to do that, all right? It's just asking for 3 times the smaller. The smaller right now is x. 3 times x, that's all we do. All right, that's what all you guys are having some trouble.
Wait, what?
The larger,
Like that?
the larger of 2 numbers, here's the larger of 2 numbers, is 3 times the smaller. Right now the smaller is x. That's all we know about it, it's unknown. So 3 times the smaller is 3x. That's how Mr. Hager got that. All we know about the smaller number right now is it's x. We don't know anything else.
So it's still
So now, as Mr. Roy said before, first thing we do in this big box, copy down your 2 things. Larger, smaller, and now we have to figure out how we're combining them. Okay? How do we know it's plus? Sum. It says the sum of the 2 things. So we're adding the sum. Now, what is the sum of the 2 numbers? What does it add up to?
4x. Oh, well, yeah.
28. 28 is the number that was given. So larger number plus smaller number equals 28. Okay. Now, Kayla, what did you just say?
Combine like terms.
What do you get when you combine like terms?
4x.
Okay, 4x equals 28.
Divided by
Sides.
4.
What are you going to divide by?
4.
Divide by 4.
And you get 7.
X is how much?
7.
7. Good. Okay, now we know one of our things. We know x is 7. Okay, so let's write that down. Now what we're going to do is we're going to fill in for the other one. 3 times 7, and that's the larger. What's 3 times 7?
21.
21. Okay. Now let's just write down what these were. What was 3x? That was the
Larger.
larger.
And smaller.
So the larger number is 21. Smaller number is 7. Okay, if you can do this with 2, when we do 3, it's not any harder. It's the same amount of work if you can set it up with 2. Okay, so let's look at, we'll do one with 3 and one more with 2.
Where? Is he handing out another paper?
Yeah, I do. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Hold on, one second. Hold that thought.
Where are we gonna do this?
He's handing out another paper.
Okay, first thing I want to do, let's just read through it, make sure we understand what they're asking. Bob has 3 times as many records as Jim.
So Bob, Casey, Jim.
So yeah, we have 3 things here. We have Bob. It's good. We have Jim. And we have Casey. So how many unknowns do we have to identify?
3.
3. Okay. This time you're going to use that 3rd line. Okay, so let's start by writing in those names. Bob. We've got to find out how many records he has. Jim. We've got to find out how many he has. And Who's the last person?
Casey.
Casey.
Don't like Casey.
Now I want you to start just by reading the first sentence. Okay, forget anything that comes after that. Bob has 3 times as many as Jim. Who gets the single letter?
Jim.
How do you know it's Jim?
This is the end of the sentence.
He's at the end of the first sentence. Okay, now who can we do next? If Jim is J, Bob is going to be how much?
3J.
Yeah, Bob's going to be 3J. Good. How do you know? Bob has 3 times as many as Jim. So if Jim is J, Bob is 3J. Now we've done everything that we can do with the first sentence. Now you got to read the second
Would
sentence.
it be 3x minus 5? Or 3j minus 5?
All right, let's look at it. Casey has 5 fewer than Bob. Okay? How many does Bob have?
3j?
Bob has 3J.
J.
Okay?
So would it
Casey has 5 less than 3J.
3j minus 5?
He has 3J minus 5. Fewer means take away. Okay? Casey has 5 fewer than Bob, and Bob had 3J.
So would you do unknown 3 and 2?
Yeah, so this time you're going to have all 3 unknowns. Okay, but let's read how we're going to combine them. It says together they have 16 records.
So
What are we doing? If you're taking Bob, Jim, and Casey, how would you figure out how many they all have together? You would do what?
add
You would add. What would you add?
3J. All the
3j, j, 3j, plus
Okay.
5 minus 5.
So basically what you're going to do is you're going to take how many Bob has, take how many Jim has, take how many Casey has, and we already know how many they have all together. How many do they have all together?
16.
Together the boys have 16. It says it right there.
How do you know Casey's a boy? Oh, wait.
Okay.
You said that.
Yep, we know to add because we're taking a total. We're taking a total. Okay, how many does Bob have?
3J.
3J. How many does Jim have?
J.
J. How many does Casey have?
3J minus 5.
3J minus 5. And if we add up Bob, Jim, and Casey, what's the total?
16.
16. Okay. Next thing we got to do is what on that left-hand side?
Add a like term.
Yeah, we got to combine like terms. We have a bunch of them. We have 3J plus J plus another 3J.
Get 7J.
Let's do it one at a time. What's 3J plus 1J?
4J.
4J plus 3 more?
7J.
7J. 7J. What's,
Minus 5.
so we did this. We still have the minus 5. Yep.
Equals 16.
Minus 5 equals 16. Good.
So add the 5 to the 16, and you get 21.
Okay, everyone see that? That's the next step. Add 5. Add 5. What I'm going to do is put the answer down below. What happens when you do negative 5 plus 5?
Cancel.
Cross out.
That's gone. What's 16 plus 5?
21.
Now we know 7J equals 21. How do we get rid of this 7?
Divide by 7.
Everyone see that? Divide by 7.
J equals 3.
So you get
We get J is how much?
3.
3J.
Okay. So J equals 3. Now we know how many records one person has. Once you know how many one person has, the other 2 are very easy. Okay, let's go back up. J equals, I like the idea somebody said keep them on the same line, so that's what I'm going to do. J equals 3. Okay, now we're going to do 3 times J. How much is J?
7. And 3.
J is 3. What's 3 times 3?
9.
9. And now the bottom one, we're going to have
4.
3 times what?
3.
3 times 3 minus how much?
5.
5. 3 times 3 is 9. What's 9? Take away 5.
4.
4. Okay, now we've done all our work. Let's just make sure we know who has how many. The top one, 9. Who has 9 records?
Bob.
That's Bob. Okay, Bob has 9.
Jim.
Jay, that's how we can remember. Jim had 3.
Casey had 4.
And Casey had 4. Okay, so hopefully you can see if you have 3, it's not any harder than 2. Okay, and it's never going to get any harder than that. That's the toughest one. Okay, we got one more, and then we'll have you guys split up into groups. Any questions on that one? All right. Last one. Okay, this one you saw yesterday something similar. This year, the price of a stamp increased by 1/5 of the price last year. Okay, so we're going back to a problem that just has 2. We're only going to do 2. We already did the 3. That was the toughest. Now we're going back to 2. Okay, just read the first sentence. Don't read anything else right now. What are the 2 things we need to find?
Price this year and price last year.
Yep, so we have a this year price, we have a last year price. Okay, so let's just write this year and last year. And you can switch them. You could have had last year on top and this year on the bottom. It doesn't matter. But we just have to figure out which one gets the single letter. So this year, last year. How do you know it's last year? Yeah. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll use an L. You can use L for last year's price. Or you know what? We could even use capital L, since that won't look like a number. All right, now we got to figure out this year. This was the one that was a little bit tricky. Okay, we are increasing. Okay, if the price of something increases, are you adding to the price? Are you taking away from the price? What are you doing?
Adding.
You're adding. Okay? Now, when you increase the price of something, you have to take what the original price was and then increase it. What was the original price last year?
1/5. Yeah, 1/5.
Yeah, so right now, we know the price this year
It's
is
30.
30 cents.
So
Okay?
it equals 30.
But let's figure out how would we get that. Okay, let's just keep reading that first sentence. So what was the price originally? It was represented by,
It increased by 1/5.
Of the price last year.
it increased by 1/5 of the price last year. So 1/5 of L. What does that mean, 1/5 of L? Times, good. Okay, that's the one that's a little tricky. Now, what increased? Something increased. What?
The amount of cents.
L.
L, right.
L plus.
Last year's price increased by 1/5 of last year's price. Okay, that's the one that's a little tricky to set up. So when you have an increased by, you have to start with the original price last year and then increase it by, and then read the sentence. 1/5 of last year. And of means times. Okay, any questions on that?
No.
All right, now this is the part that's a little different because they're telling us one of the 2 things. The price this year is 30 cents. Okay. How did we represent the price this year?
Is equals.
Well, how did we represent it?
Oh, 1/5.
Well, it's part of it.
Oh, this year.
This year should be
What's our expression for this year's price? We have it written right there.
Wait, L plus
L plus
1/5
L.
L.
There you go. That's this year's price. L plus 1/5 L.
Equals.
Now,
Plus.
we already know what this year's
Wait,
price
M
is.
plus L again?
No.
Nope. So this year's price, okay, we're not actually going to use last year's price right now. We don't need it. And that's what makes this one a little different. This year's price is right there. We represented it as L plus 1/5 L. But we already know this year's price. They gave it to us. How much is this year's price equal to?
30.
30. That's going to be our equation we solve for L. Okay. This is this year's price. L plus 1/5 L. And we know this year's price is equal to 30. You don't even need last year's price to set up this equation. Not even using it. So this one's a little different. All right. Now, what do we have to do on the left-hand side? What do we do? We have L plus 1/5 L. What's the name of what we do there? Nope, not distribute. CLT. Combine like terms, right? Combine like terms. Okay, if you need your calculator, we can do that. Let's do 1/5. It's 0.2. What number is in front of L?
1.
There's a 1.
1.2 L.
So 1 plus 1/5 is 1.2 L. And now I just have one step left to find last year's price.
Divided by 1.2.
Divide by 1.2. Divide by 1.2. Okay, and again, that's definitely kind of tough, so we're just going to use our calculator. 30
25.
divided by 1.2 is 25. And remember, that was cents. 25 cents. Okay, now what's a little different about this one is we're basically done. Okay? We already know last year's price is 25 cents. They told us this year's price is 30 cents. That's it. Those are the two things we had to find. So we don't even need to plug anything back in this time, because they gave us a little bit of extra information in the problem, and it helped us skip a step. Okay, so I'm going to go right to the final answer. How much is this year's price?
30.
They told us that in the problem. We could have wrote that down without even doing any work. Okay, and then last year's price?
25.
That was L, and L was 25. Okay, some people get a little confused with that one because it's actually less work than the others. They gave you one of the answers to start. Once you get used to it, though, it's actually an easier problem. Okay, questions on that? All right. So make sure you write that down, okay, on your agenda. Homework's page 132. Numbers 1 to 15, odd.